I'm Sean Bernard. I'm the program director, and this year it's been an honor to kind of coordinate these readings. We had four fiction readings in the fall and winter, and we all have these three poetry readings this spring, and it's been really wonderful. Despite the pandemic, to bring together current program students along with program graduates, right? I mean, it's a fantastic way to keep the family going. And now, without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to today's readers, Emma Garcia and Monica Rosas.
Okay, hello everybody. I'm going to be introducing our first reader today. Monica is a 23-year-old graduate from ULV and is a poet, future educator, and lover of flowers. She graduated in spring 2020 with a major in educational studies and minor in creative writing. Monica plans on one day publishing a book of poetry and working in the education field as a high school English teacher, college creative writing professor, or a school counselor. She's currently taking a break from school and is discovering ways to express her creativity, whether it be through writing poetry, painting, baking, gardening, and any other creative projects she can get her hands on. When she isn't being crafty, she enjoys going on picnics to the beach, road tripping, and online shopping for things she doesn't need. And without further ado, I present to you Monica Rosas.
Hi everyone, I'm Monica. I was planning on sharing my screen to share the poems, but my Wi-Fi is very unstable. So to prevent lagging, I'm just gonna read them. Okay, so yeah, my first poem, it's called For You. It's an oldie, I've read it before, but it's a goodie to me, so here we go. For you, I plucked out every hair, stripped my skin, laid it on our bed, broke off a clavicle to use as a door handle, stretched my tendons, hung each as curtains from our room, removed my spine, draped it over a coat rack, unchained each disc, placed them on a jewelry dish. I pulled out each of my nerves until I felt nothing. So that was my first poem. My second poem, it's about the relationship between my dad and I, which is pretty rocky, but yeah, what better way to deal with it than to write about it, right? So yeah, it's called Dear Dad, It's Been 1 year. Dear Dad, it's been 1 year since the last time I saw you parked on the driveway with the window rolled half down, rain sprinkled on your face. As I stood outside, I felt water whip my scalp and hair, and I listened to it thud on the windshield. I couldn't hear you speak as I watched you mouth the words, I'll be back soon. Ooze from your lips blew the scent of tequila, mixed with fumes from the exhaust as it burned the inside of my nostrils. I closed my eyes, listened to the sound of tires turning over wet cement. I waved by, you've already left. So yeah, that's that one. My next poem is about, well, it says in the title, but it's basically about my sister who I've never met. And also, what better way to deal with it than to write about it? So yeah, it's called Dear Ashley. Dear Ashley, a poem to my sister whom I've never met. You are the only picture Dad keeps in his wallet, tucked behind a vacant card slot. His thick fingers stretch the pocket where you hide, and I watch him unfold the wrinkled photo. His thumb smooths creases on your face as I stand on the tips of my toes and peek over his shoulders, trying to imprint the only image of you in my head. I hear Dad sniffle as he turns around and folds you gently, gliding his index finger, tightening each crease. I can no longer see you. Your thin, straight hair trace the curves of your smiles. In my mind, I wonder if I can recreate that smile he shared with you. So yeah, that's all. My next poem is called Dear Honey. I guess I have a theme of writing the letters and the dears and all that stuff. So, but yeah, this one's called Dear Honey. It's a little explicit if that bothers you. I don't know. But yeah, here we go. Dear Honey, I miss the way your amber liquid glazes my tongue. When I lick you from my fingers, I savor every sweet part of your golden body. I crave watching you slowly twirl down onto the curve of my lips, coated with shine from your limpid skin, the feeling of you, your thick nectar seeping into the crevices of my mouth and beating in the back of my throat. I swallow every drop. So that one. My next poem is called I Love You and Your Inability to Love Me. I feel like the title is pretty self-explanatory, about, loving someone that doesn't love you back. So yeah, I love you and you're the next time I say I love you, our bodies won't be interlaced underneath cotton sheets. As you say, I love the way your skin feels foreign to mine. When you remember the color of my cheeks as they change to the color of my flushed lips. When I whisper your name, it will not be when we are lost in the same bed with the scent of backwoods and purple haze lingering in our hair and in the room having conversations of the next time we can fuck, because that is the only thing that we have in common. It won't be when I am calling to a God we both question because you don't know how to please me. The next time I say I love you, it will be when you love me too. Yeah, so that's that one. My next one is called Will I Lose the Memory of You? This one, it's kind of, well, it's about it's about losing someone. I have personally never lost someone that's close to me, but it's a fear that I have, because I'm a very fragile person. And when I got inspired to write this, it was actually the birthday of a cousin who had passed away. And that was someone that my mom was really close to. And seeing how it affected her just kind of inspired me to write this poem. Yeah. So will I lose the memory of you? Because it isn't when I walk down the aisle of a market and go to reach for your hand. Instead, I tuck it in my pocket because I would rather pinch my thighs than grab air. When I see you, your favorite brand of cereal, I buy it just to let it sit on the shelf until it goes stale. It isn't when I go to the park, lay down to feel the grass, scratch my back, and laugh until I cry. Because as I look at the pink and white sky, I remember how we would make shapes with the clouds. I know it's not when I wake up at 2 a.m. and I think I can hear you speaking, telling me that you are okay. As I fall on my knees and pray to a God I am not even sure exists, but I am so desperate for comfort, I try anyway. I think it's when I come home and try to have a conversation with the picture of you and I that has been hidden in a kitchen drawer, but I can't remember the animation in your voice. I hear a flatness, and I beg for you to come back because I realize I don't want to lose you a second time. So yeah, that is that one. um, Thanks, everyone. This one's called I Think He Only Loved Me in the Spring, which is inspired after Olivia Getwood's I Think I Only Loved Her During the Summer. Yeah, I love that poem. If you are into like feminist poetry, I highly recommend checking her out. She is chef's kiss, amazing. So yeah, this one's called I Think He Only Loved Me in the Spring. Because when he remembers me, he tells me he thinks of the way my hair waves, like a field of wild brown grass, and the way I would look in his eyes as I sucked orange creamsicles that melt in my palms. He remembers enjoying my sticky hands that would carry our conversations of what life would be like when we get married and have a daughter that we would name April to always be reminded of when we fell in love. He tells me how I smell like lilies and vanilla whenever we would fuck. The texture of when he held me, I would slip like velvet petals between his fingertips. I soften. He tells me he loved the way my lips bloomed whenever I spoke his name. When I told him my favorite memories as we would lay barebacked under the sun, he wrote our names with sunscreen before he rubbed it and made it disappear into my skin because we were never permanent. So that's that one. That one, I'm glad you like that one. That one's like actually, it's been my like recent favorite that I've written. So yeah. And then my last poem is called Where I Find Love for Myself, and it is an ode to my body. Yeah. Where I find love to my love, I messed up. Where I find love for myself. The freckled scars on my back from dried acne, textured tips of my stretch marks, border the sides of my hips, excess skin and fat that hangs from my lower belly, bumps and dimples on my thighs that ripple when I walk. My thin hair shows my scalp, a bald patch on my head. Extra skin hangs on my arms that carry down to my wrists, crease when I move my hands and fingers. Wrinkle on my knuckles, the pink patches on my face, an unsymmetrical eyebrow that arches higher than the other. Chip on my front tooth and crooked overbite. Bulge when I sit or stand. I found it. Yeah. um, yeah. Thank you, everyone. Thanks, guys. So yeah, I'm going to be introducing our next poet, which is Emma Garcia. Yay! um, Emma is a third-year student, double majoring in psychology and creative writing. She hopes to publish a collection of a young adult fiction novel to transport her readers to a place where they can escape. Emma enjoys traveling around the world through space and across realities, all the while sitting in a chair, a dog in her lap, and a bookmark that can never find its way into a book. So yeah, without further ado, here's Emma, and I know you guys will love her poetry because I do too. So yes, Emma.
Hello, those are my sisters over there if anybody's curious. Hello everybody. Okay, I'm going to try sharing the screen just so you guys could see. I played around with form a lot. Gonna see how this works out. Okay. Okay, don't read ahead, everybody. That's cheating. So, hold on. I'm trying to rearrange everybody so I could see people. Okay. So this first poem that I wrote, obviously called Hand-Me-Downs, I got inspired by people who aren't like a part of the writing community, basically telling me how to write kind of thing. And I'm like, what? Who are you? You know, kind of thing. But that's where this poem got inspired. So this is Hand-Me-Downs. The box was wrapped in birthday wrapping. The tape was crooked and the box was dented. Inside were your words. They looked worn out, wrinkled. After years and years of constant use, you finally give them to me. When I get home, I put them on. They're too tight around my legs, the arms are too long, and the color doesn't match my complexion. I feel silly wearing your words because they aren't mine. I go to the store and buy some other words with a coupon. I take the words home. I wash the words, hang the words. I cut them and sew on some new words I pulled out from the garden, then wash them again. I dye the words. I repaint the words. I stretch them out and iron on some new ones. I flatten them on paper, let them rest overnight, so in the morning the words look brand new. I try them on. The legs are not tight. The arms are the perfect length. The color matches my eyes. I love these words. They fit me better and I want more. Okay. And I wanted more words so much that I ended up writing a bunch of other poems for you guys to listen to. So here we go. This next poem was inspired by, I was reading a poem and they were talking about Adam and Eve. And so this one's inspired by, what if Adam forgot to name one of the animals? And I got stuck with this animal. So that's what this one is, titled The Forgottener. And I made that word up too. So if anybody wants to use it, go ahead. But The Forgottener. I feed it the stems of strawberries and the antennas of a butterfly. It clicks and vibrates at me, hidden in the cupboard. It's tired and I try to read to it, but it howls at the picture books and tries to eat the ladybugs. I have to sing to it instead. Cradled in my arms, it scratches my neck, squirming in my grasp. I strangle it every night, watching the brown eyes roll back. It wakes me suddenly. I rock it back to sleep, making it comfortable, lighting it on fire, shaving its fur. I take it for a walk when it gets antsy in the morning. It hisses at the dogs and crows in the trees. It spits at the lions and gorillas behind the window. I watch it pop balloon animals with its claws. I explain to it, those aren't real, honey. And it yaps at me. They have names. I want one. I want one. It breaks mirrors and opens umbrellas indoors, yelling, I hate you, as I rub my temples, my brown eyes roll back. I try to keep its rage contained with a creative outlet. My curtains are starting to tear and my shins bleed on the carpet. So it keeps a diary and writes at night, plucks a canine tooth out from my mouth and uses it to scribble words onto paper. Hate mail to the man who named the animals. Why didn't he name the thing laying on my floor? Sticky under my feet, heavy on my head. How did I get stuck with this unnamed creature, forgotten of its species? I want to sleep at night, so I lure it into a plastic cup with the blood of a monkey, and it laps at it lavishly. I slap a lid on it before it escapes and shake the formula. I lay in bed and suck it down like a sippy cup. That's that one. This next one is very, very strange. I wrote this back in January. I had a book of like poetry exercises, and this was one of them. And actually the name of that exercise was Truth in Strangeness. So this one really doesn't make sense, but I just like the way that it makes me feel. So hopefully you guys like it too. Truth in Strangeness. I don't find butterflies in my stomach. They are actually on my tongue, which is why I never speak, only to the food in my pantry, where I cook oatmeal every other day and use the extra to wash my hair. It keeps it soft. I advise my balloons to do the same thing, and even with my hens, but hens are different, and I give them my shoes so their feet don't get stuck in the mud. I have no shoes to make sure I don't crack their eggs. And after breakfast, I powder my nose with an axe. It gives me the extra blush that I need, and I rinse my hands in a quartberry basket that I've borrowed from the hens filled with coconut water. For lunch, I walk into my neighbor's yard and eat their bullets. They taste spicy, my favorite. And when it's too much, I breathe the milk in the air and watch a screwdriver make his kids work on Saturday. I'll shrink to the size of a pea and show my kids how to wash their feet. It would make me happy, my tail wagging. I'll take it off and drape it over my arm where I can always see it. I was also playing around with this form, so I did like a line sticking out, but then I also did like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 indented lines, and then it goes back down to 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So yeah. So that ended on a happy note, and my next poem is called When I Said I Hate You. So we're going into the hate dimension now. I don't know. You know how they say like artists or dancers or like writers, like they always like convey like emotion through like their art and stuff. And I feel like I don't know if I've ever done that. And so I was like really angry one day and I was like, might as well write a poem, see where it gets me. And this was the outcome. So when I said I hate you, I actually meant that my veins are pulsing with boiling ice water, frothing and roaring like the outskirts of a deranged hurricane. The pores on my face, fault lines for earthquakes that mutilate the skin inside out, supplied by the years of a thick tsunami right behind the brown eyes, ready to come beat down on those who don't listen. I'll chuck them in a shredding tornado that is whirling with the faces of deceit, dishonesty, impatience, indifference, ignorance, as I yank out a smile, a no-hearted laugh, looking at you across the table, your ashy hand on top of mine. Dang, yeah. Don't mess with me, everybody. I'm just kidding. Okay. Now, this next one is called An Even Curiouser Dream. I got inspired by, I was reading Ada Limon, and she had a poem, I think that was called like A Curious Dream. And so I was like, okay, like I'll write a poem about a dream that I had, and I'll call it An Even Curiouser Dream. So that's what this one is. And this is a real dream that I actually had. But don't overanalyze it, please. Okay. So An Even Curiouser Dream. A man crouched in a bush and held his camera in both hands. It was pointed towards two squirrels standing against gravity on the side of a building. I tilted my head to the left to see them. Then one hopped on the back of the other and started thrusting. The man clicked rapidly to capture these moments. The squirrels smiled for him with full human teeth. I looked at the squirrels again, having an all right time, and imagined her giving birth to babies on the side of a tree, teaching them how to ignore gravity and how to brush their teeth, keep them white in case their picture is taken. Will the man take pictures of them too? Can I have a portrait? And this next one is called Gumball Machine. This one basically like explains itself, so I'm not going to give any like kind of intro to it, but we're just going to jump right into it. Gumball Machine. Back in elementary school, we drew pictures of our future family. The other little girls drew pictures of a husband and a couple of kids. I drew pictures of me with dogs. I had no desire for children, even in play pretend. If I didn't have pretend children, I always forgot about them, left them under a table or out in the playground. Never once did I wish for my pretend children to get buckled up in a car seat and ride with me home. In 5th grade, when we learned about our changing bodies, we learned about how to become pregnant and the exciting steps on how to get there. I became sick, and I also misinterpreted the lesson. By a certain age, your body automatically became pregnant and was a job for a woman, a course requirement, a must-have on the resume of life. Like a gumball machine, filled with pre-existing balls. Just wait around until one day one of them rolls out. I just didn't consider you needed a coin first, which was something I learned in middle school. I could breathe again. I wouldn't have to wait for the day for a child to suddenly appear in my belly. I'll just stay away from anyone trying to insert a quarter for a gumball. Don't worry, you'll eventually want kids, is what I hear often, like it's an acquired taste. My mom said my taste buds will change as I age, but I still don't like ranch dressing. I must have misinterpreted the lesson again. I won't wake up magically with a child, but I might wake up magically wanting one. I cringe at the thought and remove all my alarms for the next day. There you go. Don't let me babysit your children, please. But that's that one. And then this next one kind of like goes in conversation with that one, because I always like wondered like I don't have any like desire to have children, and then like it kind of makes me sad because like there's women out there who would like to, but they can't. However, I might be able to, but I don't want to, you know, kind of thing. So this is kind of like a poem like inspired by that or something, called I Have What You Need. I'll cut out my uterus, making sure to be careful with the lining. Place it in a box of Easter fluff and sprinkle in some ripe ovaries. I'll tape it shut and make sure it's tight. I don't want anyone stealing what is rightfully yours. I'll borrow your tied fallopian tubes as a bow. Place it on top so you can rip it apart. Take out what's inside and hold her close to your chest. She'll like your heartbeat more than mine. There's that one. Whew, gotta take a deep breath. Okay. This next one is called Imagining Flavors. This one's kind of hard to explain, and like, so I don't think I'm going to. But if you have questions, I don't think I'm going to answer them because I know what this one means. However, I don't know, but let's go on this journey together. Okay. Imagining Flavors. She stops at the nearest bar. The biker asks her what she's having. Issues, she says, following the cracks in the counter. He cleans her a cup and asks her, what flavor? She bounces her leg and flicks a crumb. Imagine your mother jumping off a cliff and disappearing into the waterfall, but before she hits the water, she flies. The biker licks his lips, imagining the taste, then hands her a cup of orange juice. She drinks it fast, but it's not as sour as she wants it. He doesn't understand the real flavor because her mother didn't jump off the cliff. She did, and the biker didn't know that she was still falling. Yay. Okay, this is my second to last one, so here we go. This one is called Mugshot. I got inspired by when me and my family, we went to like Knott's like a while ago, and my nephew took a picture with one of the characters, and yeah, so I'm gonna read this one called Mugshot. My family and I were at Knott's Berry Farm, walking amongst the scattered people, stepping on popcorn and pointing at the rides. Franklin was out taking pictures with guests. We got excited. My nephew wanted to stand with a character that matched his hair and skin. We finally approached Franklin, his oversized head bobbing up and down, his whole arm waving at my 4-year-old nephew in large sweeps, welcoming him into a picture. My nephew's brown afro bounced vigorously as he skipped to the marker on the floor. Franklin popped out his foot, leaned into his hip, and gave large jazz hands and stood frozen for a picture. Put your hands up, my sister yelled at her son, and his smile faded, somehow prepared for this moment. And he put his hands up, showing us his palms, showing us he had nothing in his pockets, nothing hidden in his coat. His elbows were close to his ribcage. His small fingers curled in, and he tucked his chin under, waiting for his mother to cue him that it will be all right, that it was over. We all gave nervous chuckles, white workers standing around laughing even harder, saying, "Oh, that is just so cute." Cute for a toddler to know how to act when someone, especially his mother, tells him to put your hands up. Puffs of shallow air escape behind our teeth. No, silly, happy arms, happy. We extend our arms outward instead of up, waving at him, trying to quickly explain to him the difference between joy and fear. His father, the man who blessed him with his dark skin and curly hair, chuckled too, not before taking a deep breath. Oh my God. Sorry for my shaky voice. Angela, I see you turned your camera off. That's not fair. Okay. This is my last one, which I thought would be fun to end with before I have, like, me and Monica have a special surprise for you. So here we go. This last one is called Noodle Soup. I got inspired by, I asked somebody if I could read to them, and they said no. And I was like, oh, okay, well, whatever. So this is me, like, wanting to read to somebody. Noodle Soup. Are you sick? Here, let me sit you down on an old wicker chair. I'll give you a quilt that I made with my hands, the fabric from someone that I know. It's warm, trust me. I sewed it myself. With each loop of lead thread, a letter is formed in the shape of a dozen stanzas. Look, I patched them together like a sonnet, an ode, and a nocturne of owls. Don't shiver, I'll bring you my special soup. I brewed it this morning. The lines are long and black, floating in errors. I twist the fork in the sentences, cupping my hand underneath as to not spill any details, and gently place them in your mouth. Ta-da! And that is what I did with all you guys. So, okay. So, as a special treat, me and Monica actually worked on a collaboration poem that we wrote for you guys. I'm going to pull it up right now so you guys can see. Sorry, I have a million tabs open, so here we go. Share screen. Okay. And here we go. Okay. We wrote a poem based off this painting. It's called like ekphrastic poetry and stuff. We also did it from two different perspectives. So I wrote from the perspective of this orange like cloth type thing, and then Monica wrote from the perspective of the woman. So yeah. I don't know if you have anything to add, Monica.
Yeah. Okay. So oh no. Oh, also shout out to Angela for sending this image to us. Yeah. So it's called The Hands That Hold Me. Sepia clouds sprout on a mud-colored sky. As I current through silt-filled water, I plead for her embrace.
I don't have arms. If I did, I would wrap them around you, your frail body of skin left out in the sun for so long it's turning gray.
Broken branches surround my brittle body. I can't help but to yearn for the feeling of her. Cashmere skin, sensitive citrus, to cradle me once more.
I sprout dragonfly sails, mimicking a salamander on fire, viciously blocking the wind that stings my fabric and the debris of charred grass nipping at your ankles.
I struggle to carry my hollowed body in the howling breeze. I sense her spirit, a barricade I cannot grasp. Her whispers are my motivation.
Hold on to me. I have you. I plead as I flap forward, struggling to keep you afloat and standing. The crookedness of your ankles wobble. I tighten stronger around your arms.
Warm air embraces me as a blanket that lulls my sulking limbs that try to grasp the stale warm air. I save my limited breaths to cry out for her.
You slump heavier, fading back and forth between the present.
When I drift further, it brings me closer to her voice, a feeling of silk that nestles in my ears. My fingers trace every curve, and my trying hands beg to not let go.
My cloth threatens to tear. Stay with me.
Stay with me.
I want to get you to the top of the mountain, where you'll be the first to see it rain, the first to feel it on your nose, the moisture soaking into your skin.
She nourishes my being and is the water that soothes my thirst. And when I feel rain kiss my forehead, I will relive moments with her and form a cup with my palms and promise to carry your fragility.
Ta-da! And here was the picture again.
That was fantastic. You guys did such a tremendous job. Thank you both. And thanks for doing the collaboration. That's such a cool thing to do. Yeah, thank you, Monica. Thank you, Emma. You guys are fantastic, like I said. If anybody was late in joining us, we're going to have a Q&A now that's open to everybody, but I do like to start these with the poets asking each other a question first. So whoever wants to go for it, go for it.
Okay, I guess I'll ask Monica my question first. So I was curious, Monica, and I wanted to know, why do you write?
I feel like I write because um conveying, like, when it comes to sharing my emotions and like articulating how I feel, it's something that I struggle with. I'm not the best with doing that. And so I've always just kind of gravitated towards writing more. And then I discovered poetry. And with poetry, it was like you're trying to explain and express so much emotion in such a short and structured way that it was a challenge for me, but I feel like it would help me learn to communicate how I feel. Um, I still struggle with it, like with speaking it, but I'm able to do it with writing. And so, yeah, I feel like that's why I write. Also, because if someone else can relate to it, or if it helps them, or they can connect to it in any way, then I feel like I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. So yeah, that's why I write. Mhm. Question to you, Emma, would be what your biggest challenges as a writer and how you overcome that challenge.
Sorry, I was gonna be funny and be like none, but no, that's a lie. I think my biggest challenge would be, I think, like criticism. Like I know it's like helpful and it like can like make you better, but like, it's rough, especially when it's coming from myself. So I think my biggest challenge is like being like really judgmental of myself. Um, but in order to get over that, I decided to like take like 10 minutes of my day to just like write however much I want, and but to do it with no judgment. Like that's my number one rule. Like write with no judgment. And it actually kind of helps. Like there's a lot of things that like come out when like you're not really judging yourself. So I really recommend that to anybody who's like trying to figure out something. Like don't judge yourself, just have fun with it and just write something. But it's definitely a work in progress. I still struggle with that. So it's not something that's gonna go away, but something that I'm gonna work with.
Hey, Monica. Great job. I don't think I've heard your poems. I kind of got a glimpse of it, I think, in one class, but so good. So,
Thank you.
I guess I noticed that you use like really interesting or maybe like unique scenes or little moments that at first you're like they're unexpected, and then like they tie in perfectly metaphorically like what the poem is doing. And I guess my question is, how do you like get that right off the bat, or do you have to rework like the scenes? Like, okay, this is kind of like common, or I've seen this before, and then you need to go back and edit and like find something. Like the sunscreen one, that thing was so cool. Like, it's such a weird moment, and then the way it tied in after, you're like, oh, this is so beautiful. But so you keep it so unique and fresh, and I didn't know how hard you have to work to get to those moments and those scenes, or how often they just kind of come.
Yeah, that's a good question. And thank you for the compliment. I feel like it's a combination of both. Um, Similar to Emma, I definitely struggle with like that self-confidence and stuff, but I've been allowing myself to kind of just write freely and like whatever comes to my mind. There are times where like it just comes to me, like the sunscreen one that just came to me, like, I don't know, I just pictured someone, like, laying in the backyard, and I was like, "What can you write your name with?" And then I was like, "Oh, like, sunscreen." And then, I don't know, like, I kinda just, like, put that in there. So, it's kinda, like, random. I feel like it's, like, a combination of, because sometimes I do have to try hard at it, like, sometimes I'm staring at the screen for, like, an hour, and then I'll have to come back to it later, a fresh mind and stuff, but then other times, it just kinda comes naturally. Something that helps, though, is I listen to a lot of music that has a lot of weird imagery like that, so I feel like that's where that inspiration comes from too. Definitely, like, a lot of funky music, I guess, that helps too, so, yeah.
Well, can you send me over your playlists or what, so I can
I
get some
got you.
inspiration? All right.
I got you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Hi, Monica. I am Emma's cool older cousin, Kevin. You both did so great today. As a screenwriter myself and a lover of poetry since my senior year of college, do you guys find motivation from other art forms? For example, like when I write like a short film just for fun or something, I tend to draw from some poetry that I've liked and vice versa. So that is my question to both of you.
I'll go because Monica answered the last one.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, I think I draw a lot of inspiration from different poets that I read. Like lately, I was reading like Ada Limon that I said. A lot of my poems were inspired by her. I also was reading Olivia Gatwood that Monica got inspired from. Um, I think too, just like drawing like inspiration from like the things around you, you know, trying to see things in like a different way. Like you go on a walk and like you see a pebble on the floor and it's like, oh my God, like I could write something about that, you know, kind of thing. Like, and sometimes it's kind of silly, but it's like, it's a good way to like stretch those muscles, you know, to think things differently and stuff. So yeah.
Yeah. Similar to Emma, I kind of just get inspiration from like all the things around me. Like I said, I was telling Sean, I listen to a lot of music that is very like poetic and slow, and the images are often like, I don't know, like they're different images, or sometimes like a lot of my poems, like they can be sexual, but it's like because I get inspired from the songs I listen to, or just like different instances, like situations. Like some of my stuff is from personal experiences, so I just grab from that. Other stuff, like I have a little notebook that I carry with me, and like I just write down like random ideas that I get. And so I have like a book of like 20 different poetry ideas, and like I go back to it later or something. Like they're not even finished or started. It's just like a little idea. So yeah, it's kind of just like gathering like different inspiration from like different places and stuff. So yeah, I feel like that's my process.
I love that. Thank you both.
That's a great segue too, I think, to a question that was asked in the chat. Since you guys did a collaborative ekphrastic poem, Dr. Hills is asking if you can talk about the collaborative process of working on that poem together.
Emma, do you want to start, or do you want me to start that one?
You go ahead, Monica. You're doing good. I can jump in after.
Okay. It was a process for sure. It honestly took like a month of going back and forth with each other. And it wasn't until like the last like week and a half or so. It wasn't until like the last like week and a half or so where we kind of we finally like came in and like agreed on stuff. But it was a lot of drafting, a lot of like starting with ideas and then going back, and like yeah, it was just a process, especially because our writing styles are very different, I think. So trying to find a way where they can come together as one and kind of complement each other, that was a challenge in itself. But yeah, somehow we did it. How, I honestly can't even give like a good like answer, because like we just kind of did it. Like I don't know, Emma, if you have like a way to respond to that, but yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, like Monica said, like it took us about like a month-ish, a lot of like FaceTime calls, late into the night discussions about what are we going to do? How are we going to do it? What are your ideas? Oh, I don't know, you know, kind of thing. And there was a lot of times we were sitting in silence, just kind of like staring at each other like, I don't know. And there's a doc that we shared with one another, and there's like a lot of notes, like the picture, like a paragraph, and like broken stanzas and lines, and then like crossed out things and stuff. And yeah, it was like a mess, but we ended up getting something out for everybody, so that was fun. And I would like to do that again because it definitely was something different, and it definitely got my brain working, and it was fun.
Yeah, I'd like to follow up on that particular question because I was curious about that collaboration process as well. If I understood correctly, you received the painting picture from Angela, and that was the starting of the collaboration. But what I was wondering, as you worked on it, did you know? I'm assuming that in most writing that one starts at the beginning and works down and makes changes and so forth. Did you do that back and forth process? Well, Sean tells me no, and he's the writer. But did you do that back and forth process as you were continuing the poem as it was going along? And the second thing is, and I guess that's pretty obvious, but it wasn't obvious to my prosaic kind of mind, is that you read your own stuff. Is that right? That as you were going back and forth, each of you were reading what you actually wrote. But I was most curious in how, as you went along and developed it, whether, okay, I'll stop.
No,
If
Al,
you,
I was just trying to visualize what you were saying. I was trying to get right. Like, did they write forward, right? Did they write like from, I
yes,
wasn't trying to
yes.
move along. I was not playing, like Oscar music for you. That's on Sunday.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
We definitely started from like top down, I guess you could say. Um, I because I kind of wrote my side first because we didn't have really anything to like compare to one another. Like we didn't know where to start. So I was like, okay, I'll just write one side. And I was like, and I'll leave space in between. So like if Monica wanted to like respond to it or whatever. And then once Monica like put in her side, that's when we went through it to see, okay, does this make sense? Does it flow with one another? And then we changed up some things and like cut some stanzas and added some parts. And yeah, that's what we did. Monica, I don't know if you want to add.
Yeah, that is pretty much what we did. I think I'm definitely the type where I need to feel inspired by something in order to write, which I think is pretty common. But I know with Emma, like when I saw like what she wrote, I was able to see that, and then that like clicked something in my head, and I was just like, yes, like I got this. And then so we just kind of like I wrote from that, and then yeah, we just like worked backwards in the sense where like we came together once I finished writing my part, and then we just eliminated what didn't work, we added what did, and yeah, so that's pretty much how it worked.
Hannah asked, how do you both tackle writer's block? Do you have any suggestions for that? And then what time of day do you find writing poetry in particular to be the most productive?
What time of day do you find writing poetry to be most productive? I don't have like a set time of day. Sometimes I will be in bed and like almost asleep, and then I'll get an idea and I'm like, oh, like I better write this down before I lose it. So then I have to get up and I usually grab my phone and then I like type it up real quick. Or sometimes I write like right after I wake up, or sometimes in the middle of the day. Like I say, like if I go out and I see something, then I'll like jot it down. So I don't really have a set time. I just kind of like let my writing like freely take over me or whatever. And sometimes it sucks and it does that in the most inconvenient times, but it works. And also, how do I tackle writer's block? I think this is kind of funny. So usually when I get writer's block, I can't write and then I'm like stressed out. However, if I don't focus on writer's block, or I believe that I don't have writer's block, then sometimes that kind of helps. But it also helps like if I take a step back and like do some like self-care or whatever. Because like if I'm stressing too much and I'm like pushing myself too hard and like, oh my God, like stop this writer's block, then it's just gonna get worse. So like I try to like be kind to myself, I guess. And like, okay, if I don't want to write right now, like I'm just gonna set it aside, like I don't want to worry about it. But yeah.
I guess to answer what time of the day do I find writing poetry to be most productive? It kind of just depends for me. It depends on my mood. I'm a very moody person, so I kind of just have to go with whatever I'm feeling. Sometimes I feel like writing at like 12 a.m. and I get like this inspiration to like write something at like midnight, and so I write. Lately though, like for a few of these poems, I found it helpful for me to write during the day. Like I went to a park and it was a pretty like empty park, and so I found inspiration there, and it was just like an afternoon and stuff. Um, and then how do I tackle writer's block? Well, funny story. I haven't written in a year. It's literally been a year since I've written because I've been putting it off because I didn't know what the heck to write about. And then so when I got this like email to like come back and read, and I was like, oh shoot, like step up my game. Like I need to come up with stuff to write about. And I procrastinated literally until like this week. And I don't know why I'm best at sometimes I work best under pressure, because when you have like anxiety and like you're thinking about what you have to do, like that puts limitation on what you're able to do versus like that pressure of like you just got to do it, like you don't have a choice. So I kind of just like work best that way because I'm just like pushed through it and stuff. Like the one, I forgot which poem it was. Oh, he only loved me in the spring. Like I literally wrote that just like a few days ago just because I felt like I needed to get something out. Like I just had to get something out. So that helps. Also, anytime you get an idea during the day, write it down. Like even if you come back to it like a month later, like that's okay. You have the initial idea. And I think sometimes all you need is that initial idea for it to like spark something else. Also, finding what your learning style is. Like, I'm a visual learner. I also do good when I learn outside in nature. And I'm a musical learner. So I listen to music, I read other poems, and I go outside. So like I just do things that like cater to my reading or my like where I learn best, if that makes sense.
That's great. It's so fun to listen to both of you share your thoughts on writing. I think we have time for at least one more question if anybody wants to go for it.
I'd love to ask a question if possible. My name is Gage. I'm a graduate of the University of La Verne, and I had a question for the two of you guys. How has the university itself, the professors, the campus, kind of lent itself in developing you guys in, working with, everything that, you've got to come through with poetry? I'd be interested to know.
That's a good question. I can definitely for sure say if I was back in high school and somebody was like, hey, you want to do like a poetry reading? I would be like, are you kidding me? I don't know how to write poetry. So literally, I didn't even really know what poetry was in high school. But like I feel like with Angela and Sean, through like the past 3 years-ish or whatever of like learning from them and like reading from others and just like trying to think differently and critically and fun, and I don't know, I feel like something happened. I think you guys just like unlocked a switch or something that I didn't know was there, and which helped me write or something. I don't know, it's really hard to explain. Monica, please take it.
Okay. I'm reading Sean's message. No, what I have to say is nice. I promise. I definitely, like, similar to Emma, like, well, I've always loved writing. It's something I've like gravitated towards, but I didn't have the tools to do it. Like, I didn't know what I was doing. Like, I would write anything and I would be like, look at this poem I made, but it like wasn't even a poem. So but once I got into college, like I saw that there was like creative writing classes, and I was like, oh shoot, let me just take that. And I wasn't even planning on like doing anything with it, but I ended up minoring in it because that one class I took with Angela, like it sparked something. And I think one thing that Sean and Angela do like really good at is like they're just like genuine people that like motivate you and push you to do good, and like they believe in you, and I think that's really like all I needed, like someone to just believe in me, and like they're really good at doing that. And I am, yeah, like without them, like I definitely would not be writing like anything. And so yeah, I really like owe it to them, to be honest. Like, so they're pretty, I'm in their debt. Yeah.
I also think the other writers in the creative writing program, mind you, there's only like 20 of us. Okay, so it's not very big, and we usually hang out and we usually talk and we have like a group chat or whatever. But like I think just like drawing inspiration from people who are like going through like the same thing that you are, like writer's block, oh my gosh, I'm not confident or whatever, I don't know, like again, like it just sparks something that like helps you write. So thank you for everybody.
Yeah, sorry, like to add on to that, it's also like this, and like because there is like a small amount of us, it literally feels like a family. And I think when you have that environment, like just an environment where you feel comfortable and where you are able to just be yourself. Like I know I've written some pretty bad stuff like in the like whenever we had class, but I still got that support. So just having that and like having like a second family to like fall back on, yeah, it's pretty great. So I definitely thank them for that, and Sean and Angela for doing a good job at creating that environment.
You guys are tremendous. Yeah, I think I also want to say, yeah, thank you to Angela. I mean, Angela has done so much, right? I mean, that's certainly with poetry and other classes, but Angela's done far beyond what's expected and required. And I know she does it out of, Angela, you're here, so thank you very much. But it's just out of love for the students, and you guys do make it fantastic. So really great job again. Thank you everyone for coming today. That was wonderful. Great questions, fantastic responses, and best of all, just some beautiful poetry. And Monica and Emma, I can't thank you enough. Thank you all very much. Hope to see you in a couple of weeks. And thank you for supporting the arts, and have a really great day.